What up, champs? Ricky Royal here, and the topic of this video is going to be my personal story, my personal journey of escaping the Jehovah's Witness cult to find, pursue, and dominate my purpose. This is something I really haven't talked about, and I actually feel a lot of resistance putting out this video, but I know that it's my own internal bullshit that needs to be healed just by getting it out. And the benefit for you is you get to learn the lessons that I have, or get to, take in the lessons that I've learned on the way. Maybe if you yourself are a Jehovah's Witness and you're like, something doesn't seem right here, I feel like I should get out. Or maybe if you are kind of stuck where you have a calling that you want to pursue, but you're so afraid of what the consequences of that means and maybe losing friends and whatnot. So this is a part of my life I really haven't talked too much about. I've kind of dropped a little nuggets of it in, and it's kind of weird, and it's something I've kind of buried down for a very long time too. But so let's go back to around the time of my divorce. Why I got married so fucking young at the age of like 20, almost 21, is I was born and raised a Jehovah's Witness. And to give you a quick review of what that means and whatnot, I'm sure you've maybe even had someone knock at your door and give you the Watchtower and Awake magazines or whatnot. I would say a lot of this stuff is my own personal beliefs and whatnot, so take what you will from it. But in my own personal belief, I see it as a cult. I see it as a Christian cult, a sheep cult is what I call it. And part of the reason why it's like my soul needed to bust out of that and escape it was that I know deep down I'm a lion. And you can't force a lion to be a sheep. That's very unloving. So I was born and raised in this cult. My parents indoctrinated me into that from the cradle. And again, like, I've gone through a lot of things. There's been like a lot of anger and, things about that, and even against the cults and even against their Godhead, Yahweh, Jehovah or Yahweh. Which if you even study the pantheon of gods, he's like a little side god. He's like this little prudish punk, and he's a war god, which is kind of funny too, because they all talk about love and peace. But I'm like, this guy's a fucking war god that wants to destroy everyone in Armageddon who opposes him. Like, I think you need some therapy, bro. I think your god needs therapy, bro. Anyways, it really. So I went through that. I got married young, because everyone in that community is very young and horny. And so we all get married super young, usually like early 20s, maybe even 19, as early as possibly can, because we just want to fuck. We're horny and we want to fuck. Unfortunately, that's not a good recipe for a good relationship, and so my relationship fell apart, and that's what I usually talked about. That's what kind of led me to become a dating coach, just because of all the bullshit I went on that. But there was a lot of stuff I didn't talk about like when I went through that, and there was a huge glitch in the matrix, not only with like dating and relationships and how a woman can one minute say she loves you and you're her world, and the next minute think you are like the devil and like worse than a club of shit on beneath her feet. But I also saw people in my religion start treating me differently. Like, her family had a lot of clouts. She was kind of her last name, they were a big family in this religious community who had a lot of weight and influence and had high positions in different churches and whatnot. And so I saw like lifelong friends and people who were friends of me and my family really pick sides. And I saw kind of like, I started seeing the dark underbelly of reality of, I'm like, wait a minute, we're all here for love and to spread happiness and what Jesus taught. And then people started treating me differently, and so it really woke me up to a lot of paradigms, and it was a giant glitch in the matrix for me when I just saw people behave differently. And that's what kind of set me down my path of becoming the coach that I am now, and even helping people healing their wounds like this, because and it makes sense. Like, after a while, like, I've done a lot of study and research, and it's shocking when it happens. You just kind of feel betrayed and feel lost, and you can go through, especially when it's your religious beliefs are being fucked with and being challenged, and you're actually seeing through them. You're kind of seeing the flaws, the cracks in them. it can really fuck up your reality, and you can go through like a crisis, almost like a spiritual crisis. And that's usually, though, like every crisis or adversity lays the seeds to something better, which could wake you up to a better, more profound reality or version of your reality, and deeper understandings of how life actually works. Because my thing on this whole journey, and I think for most of you, is to discover truth. What is truth? And part of that is to know thyself, like what is the true you, and that takes some time. And that's kind of through that process is what you start discovering what your purpose is going to be. And then through that, it's like, well, what's the truth of, my reality, or, how things work, how business works, how spirituality works, how love, sex, and dating work, So I started going down that path. It was brutal. It was a mind fuck. There was a lot of bad nights. And I did have my family. My family did have my back. But then I remember I decided to move to Seattle because, it was a new start. I was just out of a relationship. Started studying game a little bit and trying that out and pursuing that. And I was still in my early 20s, super horny. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm going to get laid. And I was like, I tried the nice guy role for a bit because, again, that cult is a sheep cult. They teach you to be a sheep cult. And it kind of makes sense in the higher scheme of things because everyone that's kind of in that religion is very middle class, middle to lower class. And so it's kind of a religion to kind of keep people like that in line. It gives them hope. It gives them hope that, like, once you start following Jehovah, their Godhead, that he is going to bring down Armageddon, one of these days, the end of days, which has been going on forever, the end of days. And maybe that aligns with other prophecies, because I know other religions have an end of days prophecies, but I don't think it's an actual... I think we're kind of going through that now, where things are just shifting, and we're shifting into a new age, so just the old has to die off and the new. But the way they see it is, it's like an Armageddon with like raining down like hail of fire, and people are burning up. Everyone that crossed their God and, was a sinner or evil or did anything is just going to be burnt up, killed off, and then they're going to live on a paradise earth. It's funny talking about it now, because, that was deep rooted into my subconscious. Even leaving wasn't maybe not even the hardest part. It was just unwiring a lot of that subconscious bullshit belief that was just wired into me. And, talking about it sounds funny, and you may even find it humorous, which I don't blame you. But when that's been your belief system, the roots that operate your mind from a very young age, your self-esteem and who you become starts by the age of 7. So when that's rooted into you, and then you go against that, it's a psychological war that you're fighting. And I have friends. I've had students come to me, and they're ex-J-dubs, and I see it in them. I see the war within them, and it's kind of scary because they're leaving the sheep pen to become lions, and that's kind of part of the reason why I made Conscious Alpha, is to help men that are looking to step up, looking to become strong alpha leaders, because that's what this world needs right now. We don't need sheep. We don't need sheep anymore. There's enough of them. But like, we need strong, balanced leaders. But I can see the betrayal within their eyes, that everything that they saw was a lie, and then now they just see life as survival of the fittest because they don't know any better. And life can be pretty cutthroat, especially if you don't have a belief system, or you don't pursue what your personal spiritual beliefs are aside from dogma. And that's why I teach like part of the mystic role, the king, warrior, magician, lover, mystic. Part of what I teach is the mystic, and the mystic is, it's very spiritual, but spiritual not in the sense of dogma. You're not taking in dogma. Mystics were the ones that would go out into the forest and test things out. They were like little wizards or witches or whatever. And it's not as scandalous as it seems, but they would just test things out and learn the truths of the universe through their own experience. And so that's how I choose to live my life. And I have my own belief settings. And if you believe, I don't think all dogma, I think dogma serves some people. If it helps you in your life and gives you some sort of centered groundedness amongst the chaos of the world, good, then use it. If it doesn't, get the fuck out. For my parents, and I like looking back and kind of learning more about my mom's past, I can kind of see how that was her groundedness. That's what kind of kept her sane in this chaotic world. So I get it. Like, I get why they would do that and want for their kids, because it makes sense. It's like, okay, they're going to be safe. My kids are going to be safe. You know, it brings structure to your life, which we all need some, excuse me, some sort of structure, even if you are a rebel like myself. But it wasn't for me, you know. Again, you know, I had a deeper calling, and life crumbled around me to pursue that. At the time, I didn't know why, you know, all the shit was falling down around me. So anyways, I moved up to Seattle, decided, because like the average person dies 300 miles from where they live, so I decided to beat that, and I was just all about mission and ambition and getting laid, kind of a jaded player at the time, healing my wounds from my marriage and that my ex-wife left on me, which were the best wounds ever, you know, like part of that, it kind of woke me up to, you know, that I'm not monogamous, you know, I'm more into open relationships and dating bisexual girls and threesomes and exploring sexuality and relationships more fluidly, because I feel like you're not supposed to, like, the first person you meet and you're attracted to is not supposed to be your happily ever after partner. You know, you change and evolve over time, and I'm always growing, I'm always going up, and people are too, but just because you're going up, maybe you veer off in certain ways. So why be contractually bonded to one another and then try to pull the other person into your path when that's not what their soul came here to do? Anyways, so I moved to Seattle. I was going out a lot. I was started getting good results. I was going out with other guys that were into game, really getting into it. I was working a 9-to-5 job as a maintenance tech at the time, and decided I wanted to be a coach. I read The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and that kind of opened my eyes a bit. I mean, like, oh, like, I don't need to go to college. I don't need all the stuff. I can, you know, there's ways you can build your own business and your own brand. And so I was like, well, what am I doing right now that I'm passionate about? And I was like, well, I want to be a dating coach. So, like, this is where my pain is, and I'm healing myself through getting these results. You know, everyone thinks it's so funny when, like, people call me an evil player, misogynist, and whatnot. And I was like, you know, like, getting laid is like the cherry. It's like the carrot at the end of the stick, you know, that, you know, gets people's attention and gets guys interested. But really, it's the internal work and who you become along the way that's so fucking rewarding. And just healing those wounds and living your life solidly, so you're not so easily seduced by pretty girls. And so I remember I was still going to, they call meetings, like going to church, going to meetings up in Seattle. But I was kind of the jaded player. I was learning my game and not telling anyone, and still, like, getting laid. And I was like, all right, I'm going to hook up with 10 girls, you know, get some experience under my belt, and then I'll come back to the religion. I'm going to take a few years off, do me. You know, this was my first time away from my family in a new state, fresh start. And I was just like, I'm just going to take some time and do me. And then, you know, if it's meant to be, then I'll come back. And if not, so be it. And then as I left, it only took like maybe 3 or 4 months. And I was like, you know what they've been teaching me isn't accurate. Like, I'm getting a different, you know, people out, they call it the world, you know, they call their religion the truth. So whenever they talk about it, it's like the truth, and that gets brainwashed into you. So you're like, oh, well, what they're saying is true, and everyone else is the world, you know. Almost like who is it in the Matrix, where Morpheus, when Morpheus is like, all these people are still our enemies. It's kind of how they view everyone. It's like, we love you, but you're still our enemies. And again, that's tribalism. That's, you know, that's what a cult is going to teach. So yeah, there's like a whole bunch of other like little things I'm trying to, but I want to put them in when they need to come in. So I finally decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to be a dating coach. And I knew when I made that decision, I would probably never see my family again. And I haven't really talked to them since. I think I've, some of my family is not in the cults, but the hub of them are. And I knew when I joined my sister, who's like a few years older than me, when she was like 18, she got a worldly boyfriend. That's someone who is outside the church, that she was sneaking out at night, you know, where she was going through her rebellious phase. And she was dating him, and they said, if you keep dating him when you turn 18, we're going to kick you out of the house and not support you anymore. And she called their bluff. They kicked her out. It put a huge scar in my family. I was always the middle child of like the in between my sister and my parents and whatnot. So I knew, like, when I decided to be a dating coach to help men, and that was going to be my path, that was going to be my part of my purpose, that I could see and that I was going to pursue, that I'd probably never see my family again, and that, you know, I would lose a lot of people, a lot of friends, you know, that followed me on social media and whatnot, a lot of childhood friends, a lot of older mentors in the community and whatnot. They're just gone, all gone. So I said, fuck it. And I started posting shit on Facebook and just like, this is the direction I'm going. You're either with me or you're going to get the fuck out of my way. And that's, you know, that's how you should treat life as a conscious alpha male. You know, it's tough love, you know, tough love for yourself to discipline yourself, and tough love for the people around you. It's like, this is where I'm going. Either get on board, either you love me, you support me, or get the fuck out of my way. Because there's a massive crabs in a bucket mentality that always happens, where people don't want you to evolve outside the perception they see you as, because it fucks with their reality. It's a real phenomenon. So, I mean, all of this was kind of my hero's journey, and that's why I started studying and getting to more men's development, because I wanted to help men through these cycles of just adversity and understanding the context of why they're going through what they're going through, and really realize that there is a silver lining. It is helping you become the man you want to be, that you admire, that you want to evolve into, and get you what you want, but you have to unwire all the things that are keeping you where you're at. And so, yeah, it was a fucking ordeal, and haven't talked to my family since. And at first I kind of just ignored that and bottled that up. And, you know, I think that's probably, you know, some of the subconscious bullshit that I had to deal with and heal when I went homeless. You know, I think like I was about to get what I wanted, and all my subconscious was like, but you've trained as a young child that all those things are bad. Like, you know, money is the root of evil was taught to me. That's why I think it's very much a middle class, lower class sheep cult, because they're taught like money is the root of evil. Trying to be rich just means you're a selfish, evil person. They don't like take into account that like most rich people donate to charities and are very generous and whatnot. And I've had a lot of rich people help me out. I've had a lot of rich people like, you know, be my parents, my you know, like almost adopted parents for a little bit, and help guide me a bit and help set me on my path. And it's cool. It's very scary at first, like when you have when you feel a big calling within you or a big purpose within you. And you'll have bad nights where you're like, oh, I wish I could go back and whatnot. But the way I see it, it's like, you know, I used to love playing Xbox and every day after work, and you know, eating Domino's pizza and whatnot. And that used to do it for me, you know, when I was 18. But I can't go back to that. You know, maybe for a day that might be fun, but I can't go back to that as my regular thing. Like, you evolve, and then there's like a classic quote. It's like, once the mind is stretched to like new realities, it can't go back to its like old form. So the same with me. It was just like, keep on going. And so it's been painful, but there always is a silver lining to it, and it's made me who I needed to be. And now looking back, even 3 years ago, since I like had to break up with my ex, and that was really tough too. Because I had a great life with her, but I knew it just wasn't right. Like I always trusted my soul's calling of like, something isn't right. I could be doing more here, or something bigger is there for me. And I always dropped whatever was nice at the time to go for something bigger. And, you know, I was always rewarded. And then looking back, I see like, yeah, I would have been so unsatisfied staying there. And life has so much more fullness and richness to it. And, you know, you have deeper connections with people. You meet other people that kind of are mirrors of you, that have had a similar journey. And you help, and you realize that all the adversities you went through, and that's the way I see it through like my path as a coach to help underdogs become champions, is like all the lessons, all the bullshit that I've gone through is worth it. Because when I meet that hard case student who's going through some hard times, I can relate to him, you know, and I can heal his wounds, and also I can not let him off the hook, because sometimes they'll use their pain as an excuse not to do something. And I have to be like, no, dude, like, I'm sorry you went through that, but no, tough love, toughen up, like, step up, do what you need to do to become who you want to be. Stop bullshitting me. So it's been a wild ride. It's been crazy. And it's been very intense, and it's been a mind fuck, and it's almost it's like an odyssey of the mind. I know that's Owen Cook had a good video on that, how the game is the odyssey of the mind, and it was, and you start to understand things, and like one of the things, like, it's heartbreaking, and it can feel like a betrayal on both sides when you're like, how could they treat me like this if they love me and whatnot? But once you start, studying psychology, start studying social dynamics, start studying religion and spirituality, you start understanding the mechanics of how things work and the patterns throughout it all. And now I understand. Like, I understand why people who loved me, would turn on me. And it's because, like, if you read a book, Influenced by Robert Cialdini, they did a test where they, like, took, like, this mama bird. I don't know what type of bird it was, but they had these, like, fake little chicks. And they wired up the fake little stuffed animal chick to a microphone and then put out the call that the mama would know that it's the baby chick, And so they were faking it, right, with this as in this little experiment. And the mama bird would just treat the fake chicken, the fake chick, as one of its own. There was I think there were some real chicks there too, but it would treat the fake one because it was putting out that call as a real one. But then they put out a different bird call, and the mama chicken immediately killed that fucking chicken. And so it's the same with people. It's like when you're switching, and again, one of my favorite quotes is to understand the secrets of reality, think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. When you're evolving, your vibration is getting louder and stronger and bigger and growing, evolving into something bigger. And so people on a lower frequency, the frequency that you just popped out of, and I always feel that with people. I go through these things where I let go of a lot of pain or whatnot, and I pop out, and then I can kind of see people at a little higher paradigm that they're still in their paradigm that I just popped out of. If you're either not going to vibe with them in general, or you're going to almost be treated like an enemy, because to them, the vibe they're getting from you is almost combative. They feel threatened by you. And it doesn't mean that you have negative intentions. It's just the vibe that they're feeling off of you and how their brain is responding to that. So it's been a wild journey. It's been insane. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to add to it. I think that's pretty good. That's the overall gist of it. If you guys have more questions, by all means, comment down below and let me know. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Stay strong. Go for your purpose, no matter the consequence, because there's always something better on the other side. You will always meet better people. And fuck the people that don't support you. They're not supposed to be there in the whole journey. And study the hero's journey. Study the hero's journey. That's a huge one. Joseph Campbell, because you'll start seeing that's a theme for a reason. It's a theme. It's something that we go through in our lives several times. I've been through it several times. And there's benefit to it, and there's wisdom in it, because real growth, you have to go through pain and struggle and adversity to become the man that you admire and be someone who is strong, and to be that responsible person who is ready to receive the powers that he is asking for. So I hope that helps. Live dangerously, my friends. I love you. Stay strong. Dominate your fucking purpose. Peace.